Free your mind. There have been tons of books, movies, and songs about freeing the mind. But today we're going to talk about controlling the mind. Because if you can't control your mind, you will never reach your full potential. And I would argue that if you can't control your mind, you will never be free. Welcome to Closer to Your Higher Self. My name is Jerome, and I want to help you create a life you love. You are more powerful than you know. Please like and subscribe. In the description, there's a link for a free guided meditation. And my info is there if you'd like to work with me one-on-one to become a better version of yourself. Imagine you decide you want to have a little farm, and you say, I know, I'll get a horse. It'll help make things a lot easier. It can pull a plow. I can ride it around the farm to see what's going on. I can load up my wagon with my crops, and I can take this horse and buggy to the market to sell my crops. So you get yourself a horse. It's going to make your dream of having a farm a reality. Your horse, however, is not on board with your dream. Because you get your horse and it's tied up to the plow, but your horse doesn't want to go in a straight line. He takes off diagonally, running until he breaks the plow. So you hop on the horse thinking you're going to ride him back to the barn, but no, he throws you off and runs until he's 2 farms over. You finally get him back in the barn, and just when you think you've got a second to figure things out, he kicks open the barn doors and you have to chase him again. So you've got this horse that could be a very valuable asset, but unless he gets some training, he'll do more harm than good. Your mind is exactly the same way. It's a very valuable resource. No other being on this planet has the mind that we have, a mind that allows us to create our reality. And that reality can be a dream, but it can also be a nightmare if the mind is not used properly. And this is exactly why most people fail, even when they're doing everything right. I think as a species, one of our biggest challenges is navigating the enormous amount of brain power that we have. You see, animals don't have to focus on too much, like 3 or 4 things. They have to make sure they find food and water, make more of the species, and don't get eaten. And they only worry about getting eaten when there's a predator nearby. And then they go back to whatever they were doing. And we have the brain structure that the animals have, but then we have this extra part called the prefrontal cortex that kind of turbocharges our brains. And for many of us, it's literally like driving a turbocharged sports car that we can't control. Think about it. The animal has 3 or 4 things to worry about. We have those things, but then we have other choices. While the animals are locked into what they do because of their instinct, we have the ability to decide where we want to live, what we'll do for a living, how many kids to have, or maybe have none at all, etc. We can use our minds to solve problems. Using our imagination, we can come up with a number of solutions. We can make choices that are not even on the radar for the animals. But remember, underneath our turbocharger, we have all the wiring that the animals have. While animals need to avoid predators and then go back to minding their business, we avoid dangerous things and then remember the dangerous things we avoided, each time releasing the chemicals we need for fight or flight from a predator. And then we imagine scarier things, releasing more chemicals. And it would be useful if you needed to run or fight for your life, but you're releasing those chemicals because Sheila in HR looked at you weird. Our turbo brain allows us to release these chemicals when the situation is not even life-threatening. It would be bad enough if it stopped there, but the problem is our imaginary life-threatening situations can make us sick if we hold on to them long enough. Stress is very dangerous. Long-term stress is as harmful as smoking. Our minds put us in a position where we're constantly in a state where we think we're in danger, the same as if a bear was chasing us. So think about this. If you were running from a bear, would you be thinking about a song you wanted to write? Would you be in a position to think about the design of your dream house? Of course not. You're trying to survive. So how successful are you going to be at creating a life you love when your body is saying, we need to survive? you're not going to be very successful. You're not in a position to be creative. So to go back to our horse analogy, you're trying to grow something, and you could be successful, except that the very thing that should be your best asset is ruining your dream. It's actually creating chaos. And chaos is not a good state for creation. I'm talking about this today because so many get discouraged because they're trying to be positive, but things don't seem to be working out. You're trying to plant your corn in a straight line and your horse runs off diagonally. So you have to get out of that chaotic state. You can't just say affirmations, visualize, and do a vision board if you're not in a position to be creative. Now, in a minute, I'm going to show you how to start controlling your mind. But first, you need to understand why it's been out of control your whole life. Here's a question you can ask yourself. Think about your favorite artistic medium. It could be poetry, music, painting, whatever. Ask yourself, if I was going to create an inspired piece of art, could I do it in my current state? If I was going to grab my guitar and write a song, could I do it feeling the way I feel right now? If the answer is no, you have to first get control of your mind. Affirmations, visualizations, and vision boards won't overcome that wild horse that's messing up your farm. When people give me pushback on creating their reality, they say, well, if this was true, why aren't we all millionaires? And the reason's right there. The mind is in chaos. Now, if you want to be successful in creating your reality, you have to tame that wild horse. Instead of letting it throw you around and run away, control it and make it work for you. You have to be able to sit with yourself. There is no other way. First, you have to become aware of what you're thinking and feeling. You can't build a house on shaky ground. You know, there's a reason why everyone who talks about these things, I don't care if it's Neville Goddard, Joe Dispenza, Florence Scovel Shinn, Joseph Murphy, Bob Proctor, they all talk about being aware of your thoughts and being able to control them. So sit somewhere quiet, somewhere where you won't be disturbed. Take a few deep breaths, relax, and become aware of what you're feeling. Where do you feel it? What kind of sensation is it? Your feelings are determined by your thoughts. So ask yourself, what thought is behind this feeling? Here's an example. I sit down in a room. I might close the shades or use a sleep mask. I take a few deep breaths and ask myself what I'm feeling. I might say, I'm feeling anxious, and I feel it in the pit of my stomach. Okay, what thought might be connected with that? Well, I want to make more money, but I'm conflicted. I grew up hearing that money is the root of all evil. So that awareness is huge. Do you see why abundance affirmations wouldn't work in that case? I've got a core belief that's in conflict with the affirmation. But now we have to go a step further. I have to recognize when the horse tries to run off. I have to recognize when a thought arises and counter it. So I may tell myself that the actual saying is, the love of money is the root of all evil. And there's nothing wrong with living an abundant life. In other words, I have to bring the horse back in line. And now I can use a visualization to replace that limiting belief. I can visualize myself creating a product or service that increases my income, and then get to work creating it. Now, if you're consistent and you do this enough, eventually your mind will fall into line. And then you can use that amazing creative power to create a life you love. If you don't control your mind, nothing else you do will matter. But if you do, you can create almost anything you want. So the question is, are you training your mind, or is your mind training you? So please try this exercise. Now, in addition to the guided meditation I mentioned earlier, I also have a video where I do a short 6-minute meditation. I'll link it in the description. I'm also in the process of creating a course that will help you to get your thoughts under control. Let me know if that's something you could use. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Closer to Your Higher Self.